Hello, everyone. Good to see everyone. My name is Anna. I am the creator here on Savouring the Indo-Caribbean. I'm so glad to be here tonight. It's our last night of the holiday wind-down series that we've been having with Anugraha Yoga in Trinidad and Tobago. It's gone by so quickly. We've had 4 sessions every Monday focusing on different topics. It's really been a pleasure to host these on here and to have everyone join and watch on the replay. We've had 4 sessions, as I mentioned before. This is our fourth. The first one was on the meaning of yoga and an introduction to meditation. The second was mindful cooking and mindfulness in food and cooking. The third was introduction to pranayama, which is breath work. And today we'll be speaking on intention setting, which is very fitting for the new year. So we wanted to incorporate some sort of, way for us to talk about how we can create space in the new year to just look at things in a different light when it comes to goal setting. So we'll be speaking with Renee from Anugraha Yoga TT in Trinidad, and it's been such a pleasure, honestly, to speak with Renee. And so personally kind of sad that this will be the last one, but all good things come to an end. And before I invite Renee onto the live, I just wanted to thank you all for being here for the last 4 weeks if you've been here, and I'll invite you to actually find a comfortable space if it's available to you. We usually do a centering practice at the beginning and a short meditation at the end. So if it is available to you to find some space to do that, to be alone and to be in some stillness, that would be great. And so I'm just gonna pin this right here, pin comments, and I'll invite Renee onto the live now. Let me lower this. Invite Renee. And so you press the thing and then you hope the thing works. Hi, Renee.
Hi.
How are you?
I am very good.
Hi, Shabita. Nice to see you here. Thank you for joining. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. And I hope everyone enjoyed the holidays or Christmas. And did you have a good holiday? A
I
good
did.
Christmas, Renee?
It was very quiet, but yes, I did.
Yeah, mine was very quiet too. I mean, all of these the last 2 years have been so different when it comes to holiday celebrations. Okay, so I fixed that. Now I couldn't hear you properly. So I hope you're
Okay.
doing well.
I am well. I feel fine. I'm good.
Yeah, good, good. So before I hand it off over to you to talk about intention setting and for us to do our centering practice, I just want to personally thank you, Renee, for being here. It's our last session. Can you believe how quickly it's come and gone?
No, it's been amazing because I feel like December has taken its time. It's been very mellow. But these sessions are already at an end and I, I don't know how.
I know. I was thinking that, the time seems to be so like lucid to me. I don't understand time anymore. I don't understand how it's the new year. And so this has just been a great way to spend my time, Renee. So thank you for being here, being on
You're welcome.
Savoring, and to, bring your presence here onto our platform. So I'm so grateful to you.
You're welcome.
So before I'll hand it over to you to say hi and to, reminding everyone again that we're going to be doing a centering practice. So it's available to you to find space that's comfortable. And if you have people around you that's with you right now, they can join in as well. Another good option is just when we're doing our centering practices and our meditation to just put the phone down and listen to our voices if you're not, ready to, get into the whole meditation centering thing. So that's always an option as well.
Yeah, and it is a really good option. So feel free to take that. It's always good just to put down the phone, kind of just relax the eyes and listen to the conversation, tune into the space. And so, again, hello, my name is Renee from Anugraha Yoga TT in Trinidad and Tobago. And as Anna said, this is our last session. We will be speaking on intention setting. Before we begin, let's do our centering. So we can close our eyes or take a soft gaze. And gently breathing out fully, taking your attention down to the base of your body, noticing how you connect to the ground below you. Whether you're seated, whether you're lying down, notice how you connect to what is below. Notice how stable, how solid. And beginning to bring that awareness to our breath, noticing the flow, the length of our breath. Gently breathing out, we soften our shoulders, we soften the muscles of our face. And breathing in, taking your attention to your gut, to your center, your core. Just notice what sensations are present in that space. And as we continue to breathe, we'll bring our attention to our heart. And again, just notice what is in that space. And as we continue to breathe, we bring our attention to our brow and notice what is in our mental space. Gently, we'll be breathing out fully. And as we breathe in, I said we would be focusing on intention setting. So take a moment here at the beginning of our practice just to ask ourselves what an intention means for us. Observe what comes up for you, what sensation or feeling, words. Gently we'll breathe out fully. Once more we'll breathe in and out. And when we're ready, if our eyes are closed, we can open them. And taking a moment just to, if you would like to, put in the chat what intention means for you while Anna and I chat about what intention means for us. Yeah. How are you?
Good, good. So you asked, what does an intention mean to us during our centering practice? And so the first thing that came to mind was actually my relationship with that word,
Okay.
and the way that I perceived that word once upon a time compared to how I perceive it now. And I think what I used to struggle with the word intention was it not being didn't feel practical enough for me. It didn't feel structured enough to me. It felt soft. It felt too soft to me.
It felt airy fairy.
Yes. Right. Yeah. And it kind of doesn't fit this definition of, productivity and performance that, is hailed in certain societies in certain ways. Yeah. And so that's the past. I've released that a little bit more, because at some point you realize as you progress, or for me at least, as I progressed, intentions allow you to bring a lot more grace into your life, into whatever you're trying to create for yourself, whoever you're trying to become, because goal setting can quite honestly be very tiring. You can hold a lot of tension in that space of goal setting and productivity. And so for me, as you were mentioning, that is, intention has become this great way for me to bring a little bit of grace to my journey, whatever I'm trying to do and create. So that's what
Yeah,
came to mind for me when I was listening to you,
that's
listening to
lovely.
myself talk about intention setting as you're asking me.
And I really like how you bring in grace, because for me as well, when I think about intention, when I think about, what intent is, I mean, yes, we could focus on the productivity and what is our goal, what is our purpose, what is all of that. But when we think about intention in a more yogic way, when we apply that lens, it does soften, and it does allow for space to bring in and to invite in that grace, because grace is always present. It's just often we don't quite recognize the softness, right?
Yeah. And so tell us a little bit more about intention then, in terms of like underneath this yogic philosophy. Like, what is an intention, would you say, if you had a definition?
Well, so when we think about intention, we think about, I feel in the Western, it is very, what is our aim? What is our goal? What is that, right? And it is, because I went and I looked up the meaning, and it is, the intent is something that you plan to do, or you are meaning to do, you intend to do it, right? But when we look to our yoga practice, and there is a word we use, sankalpa. Sankalpa meaning sun referring to truth, and then kalpa, our vow or our commitment. So it's more than I plan to do something, I mean to do something. It is connecting to what is your truth, your inner, what is in this moment, what is your highest truth, and then committing to that. What do you need to do to commit to that? So that when we are thinking about a sankalpa, and we don't have to say, we don't have to use the Sanskrit word or anything, but we could carry it over into thinking about intentions. But when we're thinking about the whole idea of it, it is to recognize that it is more than just a goal or a purpose, but it is connecting, focusing our mind on what is our highest truth. How do we connect to that? And then how do we focus our energy and our will towards making that happen, right? And so that is the lens with which we look at it from when we practice our yoga.
And that's really interesting that you brought that in, is this idea of it being a commitment. And when I was listening to you speak, I thought of words like it's rooted deeply. It's more than just, I'm just gonna work out more. It's deeper than that. It feels like it's like, who do I need to become to be the person that works out? It makes you almost think more deeply about, how does my lifestyle look like if I'm introducing some of these new goals that I have, because it allows you to be more almost reflective in the process of goal setting,
It does.
And so why do you think it's important for us to have intentions in the first place?
I think it is important for us to have these kinds of intention and to focus on sankalpa, so that we become more aware of ourselves. Because when we're thinking about yoga, it is, tuning into our inner being and our connection to grace, to the divine, that kind of thing. When we are setting goals and intentions and sankalpas and this kind of practice, it gives us that space to think about, well, why? Why am I setting this? What is the reason behind doing it? Why do I want this in my life? Why do I, so it gives that space, as you say, for listening and for reflection. And so when we take that time, we become more aware of who we are as people, as humans on this journey, and what we stand for, what we believe in, all of that. And doing that grounds us in a way so that we are more present, we are more aware of ourselves, we are more, I guess, grounded. Grounded is the word, right? And then we can live our lives more fully, because now if you have taken the time to reflect on, well, why do I want this in my life? What is it that I am working on? Then what is your base. What is your value even. What you are worth in a way, right? So it's very important just to take that time to work on it.
Yeah, and I think when you do take that time, for me at least, when I started becoming a little bit more reflective during the process and asking myself questions like, why do I want this? Or say, for example, I'll bring in fitness again. If I'm trying to exercise,
Yes.
why aren't I doing it? You
Yes.
know? So those types of inquiries allows you to really shines a light into the life that you've created, things that are not working, and how you can introduce more healthier ways of being and thinking. And I think with intentions, um, it allows you to think about how you're thinking about things. Do you know what I
Yes.
mean?
I
It,
do know. It is a lot of
because it's
thinking about
like
thinking.
yeah, it's like because if you're trying to find motivation, sometimes that motivation we're looking for it externally, but it's actually like this inner process, this like this place that you go inwards, where you find that drive or that and you were mentioning commitment, and it's like you call upon yourself more and more to remember why you're doing what you're doing, and that's where you find that motivation instead of looking at it
Yes.
elsewhere. And so I love the idea of everything that you're saying around inquiry and self awareness and why aren't we doing these things, right? And so I think one of the things for me with intention setting is, we have these we need to have some sort of practical way, or else I do I need some practical way of introducing intention setting into our day, or a way of setting these intentions. So do you have any tips for us on how we can do this very
I
practically?
do. And it is true, that you need to keep coming back to it. Otherwise, yeah. And there are practices we can build into our day, just as we do with the pranayam, just as we do with the meditation. We do the same thing with our intentions and we can form a ritual, especially now during this time heading in towards New Year, where you take the time to pause and block off a space of time to say, this is what I am working on. I am setting my sankalpa. I am setting my intentions for the year or for the month or for today, whatever time period you choose. And you take that time, block it off, like on your planner or on your calendar or whatever, and go through it, because it is a process. And for you to do the process, you need the time. Yeah, you need the time to give to yourself this space to listen and to reflect on, well, why do I want this? What am I doing this for? What is my thing? And then when you take that time and you have it, you work it out, whether in your mind or you write it down. Personally, I like writing because I feel like the process of writing it makes it more concrete for me. For some, you might want to record so that you can play it back in your own space, your own timing. You speak it into your phone. Everyone has a phone these days. You speak it into your phone, record it, so that you have it that you can listen to, or you can create an art piece. All of us have different ways that we connect to ourselves. And it is for you to take the time, block it off, do the practice, and then come back to it again and again. So we come back to it either by writing it out every now and then, or we come back to it by listening to it, or we can make something and stick it up on our mirror. So every day when you're brushing your teeth or whatever, you see it and you're like, yes, this is my, or when you go to do your meditation, you say it at the beginning of your meditation. Or even like in the mornings, how I do my water, when I take my time to drink my water, that is also a good time to bring it in. So, it is to make space in your day to set your intention, because you want to first figure out what your intention is and then keep coming back to it. And as you said, when we pull away from it or when we turn away from it, it gives us the opportunity to ask ourselves why. What has shifted that I'm not following through with it? Why am I not committed as I want to be? In terms of, like, if we're talking about fitness, why am I not committing? What am I not doing? What is keeping me, So it is good to check in again and again. And I personally am very fond of new moon and full moon, those times of the month.
Mm.
So I like to, during new moon and full moon, just check in. And it doesn't take long, like a couple minutes to check in and to see what's been happening, how I'm looking on things, and if I want to write or if I want to do another uh, art something, because I like art things as well. But it is to find what works for you, right?
Yeah, and I think one of the things too that you were mentioning is finding what works for you. That last point is, I think, is really important, because especially right now there's a lot of ways people reach, set intentions, the way they, maybe people create even vision boards, and there's lots and lots of practical ways that are out there. And I think during that reflective process, you kind of understand what works for us, because a vision board for one person isn't going to be what another person resonates with. So, with us taking that time, as you were mentioning, to be with ourselves and to understand ourselves, we understand what works for us. And I think that's one of the things I don't think is said enough, is that, each one of us has our own ways that we allow ourselves to come back home to ourselves, and to, think a little bit deeper. Do you like questions? Do you just like to flow write? Like, what works for you? And
Yes.
for me personally, I write a lot, just like you as well. And I like to ask myself questions, because if I flow write, um, sometimes for me it just nothing comes. And so
Mm.
especially if you're someone who is just getting into writing, I find that an actual question guides you a little bit.
Yes.
Um, and I don't know, Renee, but like, I don't know about you, but personally, like, one thing about, having one healthier meal, for example, say that's, one of the things that we're working on. When we start writing it out and we start digging deeper, it's actually really deep wounds sometimes that comes through our writing,
Comes
that
out.
we
Yeah.
don't realize. Like, we were not eating that one healthy meal because of this other big thing that's happened, or that we feel. And the gravity of not being perfect, for example, or not being good enough, all of that comes out sometimes in the writing. So sometimes we like to say, and this is why I love intentions, because one, of course, it brings us a little bit of grace, but it allows us to sit with ourselves long enough to get to the core of certain things. So with all of that being said, though, is there anything else you would recommend for anyone who is trying to get into, intention setting versus goal setting, that you would like to offer before we get into our last meditation?
Yeah. And it would be to take take the time for yourself. And that is the most important thing. If you're thinking about getting into intentions or setting a sankalpa, that kind of thing, make the time. If it's playing around in your head that, oh, I should maybe set an intention, or if you have suddenly popped into this live, you don't know how you ended up here, or if you keep seeing things coming up, then that is a call for you to take the time for yourself, to do that kind of practice, especially now. Now is a time that supports this kind of self-reflective practice. So you want to make a little bit of space to do that, and especially to figure out what works for you. Because as we were saying, not everything, we all have our different ways to do things, and what will stick for one person will not stick for another. And all of these ways that we might find are perfectly valid. It's not that one way is better than the other or anything. But to know, when you take that time for yourself, when you listen to your heart, you focus on your intention in your mind, and you begin to direct your power, your willpower, your energy into making this thing happen, it will happen. That's just how it works. It responds.
Yeah, and
So,
as someone who's made that shift from more practical core goal setting, which, did me quite well for a long period of time, but going into intention setting and having this more flexible, it actually becomes a little more flexible in
it
terms
does.
of what we're trying to achieve. what ends up happening is a lot of these intentions they flow more. They become more of a flow than they are forcefully us trying to grab all the pieces together and make it
Yeah.
fit, right? And so you bring a lot of that creation process of whatever you're trying to do for yourself, no matter what it is. There's a lot less tension there, and the plan itself creates itself, if that even makes sense, right?
Yeah,
It
that's
just, you don't need to write down all the steps and then go through
no.
and then check them off. What I found happens for me is that in the moment, the right choice will come, the right people come, the right way comes, and it's better than anything I could have written out. And I think that's one of the things that intention setting has done for me. So
Yeah.
highly recommend everything that Renee has just said for us to really think about it, because it is something beautiful happens with intention setting.
Yeah. And before we go into the thing, I just want to point out, something that you were mentioning, that when we think about intentions, we have to also take a moment to recognize that the energy for this to happen is already there. It's already in the space, and you are just connecting to that, just as you're connecting to the fact that, oh, maybe I want to set an intention. You're already connecting to that energy, that desire for this intent to happen, and that action is already in place for you to do. So it is like having in mind, it is already in your space.
I love that. Thank you.
Good. So I guess, shall we go into, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
there's any
For those,
questions, let us know and we can answer them after the meditation.
okay. So we'll close our eyes or take a soft gaze. Taking a moment to reflect on what we have spoken about. Observing if we would like to set an intention, not necessarily today, but in the days to come, for ourselves, for our practice, for our year ahead. And just noticing how these words land with you in this moment. Beginning to follow the sound of your breath. And allowing each breath to be full and deep. Observing the space, that quiet space. And we're going to take our attention to our brow. When we speak of intentions, we speak of sankalpa. We want to focus our mind. And so noticing what is in our mental space. Taking a moment to listen, to observe. Taking a moment to reflect in that mental space on what is there. And then gently we follow our breath down into our body, beginning to focus on our heart. And noticing what resonates within. Noticing what comes up in this moment. Again, noticing our willingness to be open to listening and reflecting. Following our breath down into our body and focusing on our guts, on our core, noticing what is at the very core of our being in this moment. And resting in this space for a breath. Knowing that any intentions that we set will come from the core of our being, core of our heart, the core of our mental space, and will align in all ways, moment to moment, with the true center of your space. Gently we begin to become aware of our body once more, knowing that in any moment we can choose to return to this quiet space, becoming aware of our hands, of our feet, and maybe we might want to stretch out our fingers or our toes. Gently breathing out fully and breathing in. And once more out and in. When we're ready, we can open our eyes if our eyes are closed. I think it's a quiet space tonight.
Yes. It's nice. It's nice when, we can have that, bring ourselves together in this way. And even if it's just a small group, it's always nice to do this together. And I don't think there's any questions unless anyone has any that they want to pop in, to the chat now. But Renee, I just wanted to thank you once again for being here, for sharing your presence with us, sharing your wisdom with us. It's been just fantastic for us to have you here. And I'm so glad for all the wisdom that you've brought into this space for us. So again, thank you.
Very well. You're welcome. It's been really good.
And just a reminder again that Renee and I have done 4 of these sessions this December. So the first one was on intentions. It wasn't on intention setting. It was on the meaning of yoga and introduction to meditation. The second one was mindfulness through food and cooking. The third one was an introduction to pranayama or breath work. And of course, we have this one here, which is about intention setting. So lots of great wisdom in all of these. all of these sessions. And if you're watching this live or you watched it live, thank you so much. And for everyone who's watching it on the replay, thank you so much for doing that as well. And so before we head off though, Renee, how can everyone keep in touch with you? What's the best way?
The best way is through Instagram. Honestly, I'm most present here, and I just want to say you're welcome, Shavita. Was lovely. Thank you for coming. But Instagram is the easiest way, and it's at Anugraha Yoga TT. You can also use that very same handle for Facebook and YouTube. It's the same at Anugraha Yoga TT. If you would like to email me instead of going through the social media, then my email address is info@anugrahayogatt.com. So it's all right there. You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining us again, and please keep in touch with Renee's such great wisdom on her page. And again, Renee, thank you so much for your presence.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
All right, everyone, have a good night. Happy intention setting and happy early new year. Wishing you all the very best for 2022.
Definitely all the best.
Bye.
Bye.